Yeah, I'm back. It's Monday. I've been gone for a while, but now I'm back. And so here I am doing, well, hiding behind the ring light here, I guess. I'm never going to get this right. It's been going on for what, years now, I guess. Still. See, the problem is that in order for the light and the camera to be on what I'm working on, it needs to be right in front of me because I'm where I'm working on. And so they just come together like that. Okay, what am I doing today? I'm going to work on my maxi fig here. Okay, and the biggest thing is I'm going to try to do dry brushing on the cloak to hit all the high points to make it look, I don't know, like velvety and fancy. And we'll see how that goes. And if it goes okay, then it'll be great. And if it doesn't go okay, then I'll have to do something else. And I need to do some dry brushing on the face because I put dark wash on it to give more contrast. And now the instructions from Nicole are to use the lighter color and go back over the high points like the cheekbones and things like that. The nose is supposed to stay dark because this is a fur bog. So this is getting close to being done. I think and then I'm going to use kind of silvery color, the stuff that's on the belt buckle here. I think I'm going to make some rivets. I might try to do those in that silver, just to add more silver to it. I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to do that or not. I'm going to get some advice about that before I do. But this is my maxi figure, and it's closer to being done than it has been in a while. The other thing that I'm working on, of course, is the Lotus-Ford, which is now looking very much like it's almost a car. It's getting close to getting the decals put on. Getting close to that anyway. It's there's pieces attached and all of that. This turned out okay in the back here. That's all right. So I think the next steps are going to be, I'm not sure. I need to put the windshield on, and then after that, then the mirrors go on. The hubs, I don't know if you can see anything in here at all. There's these little spinners, these things that go on they go onto the wheels, the axles, and they're supposedly there to hold on the wheels. Confused about how these are supposed to be attached, to be honest. Instructions here and see what's going on. These instructions usually are pretty useless. Got some pictures too. I'm just going to mutter to myself here while I try to figure out how these knockoffs are supposed to go on the axles. Seriously, it's not really clear at all. Okay, this helps. They flare out. Okay, so these are not, you can see that they're kind of flary, and they flare out like that. Not in, but out. So that at least tells me what the orientation is supposed to be, and then I have to figure out how to attach them. That'll be a thing too. But yeah, it's getting close to the final bits of this to see how it's going to turn out. I left the tape on here, even though it's not really holding anything necessarily, but it's just because I handle this so much. I've been handling this so much around the sides as I've been putting the rest of these bits on. My hand is not steady. Look at that. It's being not steady. Huh? Hmm. Yeah, as I've been putting these bits on, I've been holding it, so I left the tape on so I don't just keep getting it on the paint. That'll have to come off because it has to come off in order to put the windshield on. I'm just inventorying what needs to be done. And then there's some suspension parts here. That's right. I'm trying to remember. I've been away for a bit here. The roll bar, the suspension parts, the covers that go over the velocity stacks. And I decided I'm not going to put the suspension parts on until after the decals are on, because if these go over the decal, and the decal, well, if the decal goes over these, it's going to be really hard to put the decal on. If this goes over the decal, then the decal has to be on first. So it just makes sense that in either case it works if the decal goes on first. But in only one of the two cases, it works if these go on first. So I'm going to take the 100% approach as opposed to the 50-50 approach. And then these bits have to be attached too. I'm a little bit concerned about those. I'll show you why. Because it's a painted surface going onto a painted surface, and it has to be just exactly right. Okay. And so I'm thinking contact cement. I just have to be really careful with it to make sure it goes on exactly right. And positioning parts for me sometimes is a little bit of a challenge. But that's going to go there, just like that. And then the other one will go on the other side. So I'm going to put these on kind of late, like near the end, because they stick out. And as I'm putting on decals and things, they'll be bumping into them. And the bumping into them can just cause a problem. I put the decals. I'm going to put the decals on before I put the windshield on, even, because then that's another thing as I'm handling this thing, twisting it around and everything. So just another thing to get bumped. So it's beginning to look like the very next thing that needs to be done is test fitting the wheels. These things need to go. These things need to be attached. So there's two kinds. There's ones with it's not very helpful. The instructions are not helpful at all. There's the kind like this that has a bump on the bottom. There's the kind that doesn't. One is for the front and one is for the rear. I'm pretty sure that that's what the intent is. And then there's these things called retaining rings that are supposed to somehow I think what's supposed to happen is they're supposed to go on the front axles like that. Somehow after the wheels are put on, and then the other things are done. But they don't fit. I really don't see how that's going to work. Really baffled by that. Let me just show you what I mean. This is the left side. The ones in the front only fit on one side or the other. This one is supposed to fit here. Yeah. Okay. And then apparently this retaining ring thing somehow supposed to go on there. Spinner. I don't see how that goes. I don't see how that's supposed to work. I mean, I was concerned about that from the very beginning. Is that this thing here doesn't fit on there? It doesn't do anything. I'm just test fitting parts just to see how they might fit, if they would potentially fit at all. Supposed to go, and I guess the retaining ring is supposed to go on here, hold the wheel on so that it can turn. I don't really care if the wheels turn or not. I just want them to be attached. No, eventually it's going to go on like that. And the spinner will be on there. And as long as no one touches it or tries to do anything with it, I guess it'll be okay. But these retaining rings, they're just not going to work. The holes aren't big enough. Fit on the axle. really see any way that could possibly make any sense at all. So it's not going to happen. Well, today, if I do anything on the car at all, I'm going to put the decals on the nose. If I do any decal work at all, it'll be that. I'll be getting the 82 out, sticking it on here. I might try to do that. Guess I can put these back in here so they don't get lost. Not that losing them is at this point an issue. And this is getting, the problem with this is getting so close to being done, but the things that are left to do can just destroy it. So it could go from looking kind of okay to just a mess, just like that, by getting something wrong now. Not happy about that part of it. I'm back from a trip. I'll be here doing this today and Wednesday. Then I'll be gone Friday and next Monday, and then I'll be back again. Just, doing stuff, going places. Now, what can I mess up first? I'm going to mess up the face first. As I said, the instructions I got from Nicole, who is our artist in residence and plays Zoya on Sewell, is to dry brush the cheeks and the high points, like the forehead and stuff, with the original color. And then somehow put pupils on the eyes. I had pupils in there before, but I didn't have the whites on. And so now I do, and then I have a chance to mess up the eyes again. Little bits of paint and see what happens. Yeah, I should be chatting about something. Managed to bump the camera. Hey, that's a good start. All right. Let's see if I can get this back to where it should be and see if I can stay on camera. So what I'm attempting to do, now we'll see how this goes, is highlighting parts of the face with the original color, the base color, to make them look a little brighter. And there was a wash that was put on this to make it look, more contrasty. Yeah. For all I know, I'm going to have to redo the face like 3 or 4 times again. putting makeup on, I guess. Except I don't do that either, so I really don't know quite what I'm doing. Hard to tell if I'm getting paint on there or not, whether it's making a difference or not. Excuse me. Yeah, gone silent here. I'm going to be pretty quiet today. I really don't have anything much to talk about. So, other than I have an opportunity now to mess up the car that I've been working on for all this time. But I think with the car, I need to go and I just need to put the 82 diesel on. That will make a big difference, and then I can worry about the wheels and the hubs and stuff later. Putting the windshield on shouldn't be too hard. I don't think that'll be a real challenge. But decals are always more difficult than one would think. I don't know why. You'd think that those would be like the easiest things to put on, but I've discovered that it's really quite possible to mess them up. Yeah, I think it looks different than it did before. When I've been brushing at these cheekbones for a while. Back of the neck turned out okay, I think. Now I'm gonna work on the cloak thing. See how that goes. this color. The green paint takes a lot of stirring. This, I've mentioned this over and over, that the pigment separates from the solvent, especially in the greens and some of the blues. It just takes a whole lot of mixing, and I've got this like vortex thing that shakes it, vibrates it, and like the paint stirrers in a hardware store. Now, let's just do this and see what happens, huh? Way too much paint, but that's what oozed out. So I got this brush, kind of a wide brush with stiff bristles. And stiff bristles, I think, work for dry brushing pretty well. My instructions are to get this light colored paint onto the high spots, these are high spots, so why not try to do it here? Get too much paint on it, and it misses the point and just paints over it. Get not enough paint on it, and you can't see anything happening. Theories of dry brushing. This will take forever because I don't really know what I'm doing. Too much there, and it got down. Yeah, and I missed the spot, and I got it in the deep spot rather than the high spot. Much of this cloak. He's starting to get a little impatient, and that's not good here. That'll lead to messiness. It's all streaky anyway. At least it's not monochromatic anymore. So what I'm going to do with this guy next is I'm going to paint some of the rivets silver, just to give some emphasis to them. Some just to highlight them a little bit. This is too dark here. I don't know. I think that's looking okay. And I'm sure Nicole would have done a much better job with it. Got a plot there. I have to somehow even that out. So it comes from being a little too much paint on the brush, I guess. Okay, stop. It's a little too dark here. Pretty much of the mind of just don't mess with it much anymore. Nicole might have some suggestions about what to do with it yet, but I'm not sure. I don't want to do too much more. Ooh, this is brighter in the front here. Yeah, okay. A little too much of the sun, but it was too dark in the front. I'm going to leave it now. That's it. That's done. Now I'm going to do some rivets. Trying to get the green paint out of this brush. This brush does not like to come clean. I'd have to use some. It doesn't come out of the bristles at all, but I know that there's green paint in there because the bristles are all green. So I think I'm going to have to use some lacquer thinner just to do that. Otherwise, sometime I'm going to dry brush with it and it'll dissolve the paint from under it. And next thing you know, something I'd like to have like orange turn into green. That wouldn't be good. See it. There's a lot of green paint that's coming out of there now. Probably get like a little container of it and rub it around in there. I need to do something like that. Just let this soak in solvent. If the isopropyl will get this out. Get a little jar of that here. See how much green paint there was in there, and there's still more. I'm just going to let that set. That set for a bit. Okay, I'm going to This is a slightly darker silver than that, but I think the rivets here. There. Those, and then in the back here, I'm not sure how far I want to go. I'm thinking these here, the rivets that are holding on the dark parts, I think I'm just going to leave those dark. I don't want too much silver on this thing. So I'm going to just do those and see how that goes. I rhymed. Unintentional. It was an unintentional rhymed. Okay, I've got two silvers. One is really shiny, like the pin here, and the other one is lighter, darker, like that. I want that one. And I can't remember which is which. I think what I did before I went on this trip is I think I should have what I should have had done, which I may or may not have had done, is I kept out the one I wanted to use and put away the one I didn't. But how can I be sure of that? Okay, I'm going to have to just let that soak in something else. Color chart. So there's model silver, which is the really shiny one, and there's game silver, which is the less shiny one. And I actually did pull out the correct one and put the incorrect one away. Yay. How about that? Well, to do this, I'm going to need a little brush and head magnifier. Is over there. I need to get this one clean somehow. So I think what I'm going to do is talk about Dice and Dungeons, because I'm just not coming up with anything to chat about today. Not without doing a whole lot of repeats, like complaining about the Mr. Ed theme song, which I have done in the past. We could do that. It's a very catchy tune. If you don't know about Mr. Ed, well, just look it up on YouTube's or ask artificial intelligence to sing it to you or something. There's a horse, of course. And no one can talk to a horse, of course. That is, of course, unless the horse is the famous Mr. Ed. Now, as you might have noted, there was an awful lot of repetition of the word course and horse. So I'm not really sure when they put that theme song together They just thought it was clever to keep repeating course over and over and over again, or whether they just couldn't think of a word that would rhyme with horse other than course. My guess is, given the the time period in which this thing was done, that they just said, well, we're just going to repeat course. Kind of, why not? Of course, we'll repeat course over and over. Not that we can't think of another rhyme for horse. It's repetitive. They will say horse and course. We're going to just say horse and course a whole lot. And that'll be the first stanza or whatever, verse or whatever it is of our theme song. That is a horse. Horse is a horse. Of course. One can talk to a horse, of course. They were just saying horse, but with a slightly different meaning. It is, of course, unless the horse. So we got the full gamut of, subtleties of course, the meaning of course. Of course we did. Having said it over and over again, it's just kind of a weird thing to say, of course. I mean, what does it mean? What's the course? The course is like, the direction that you're trying to go in, right? It's not the destination, of course. It's the pathway that you need to follow to get to that. But then it's come to mean, in this particular case, with certainty. Okay. A horse is a horse, of course, which means a horse is certainly a horse. And what does that have to do with the pathway that you're following to get to a certain place? So why say of course? And why is it of course? I'm suddenly baffled by the phrase. It happens a lot in English. You say these things and you kind of know what they mean, but when you think about them more literally, it stops making sense. So does that mean of course? I mean, why of course? Does it mean, of the pathway that one is following? If you just say course, a horse is a horse, course. One can talk to a horse course, but it's of course. So somehow the word of attached to course, follow the course. You don't follow of course. Well, of course you follow the course. And you certainly follow the course. Of course. See? It just starts turning into gibberish. And I think those are, somewhat subtle enough as not to be just like glaring. But adding a little bit of interest to the plate, the attachments of where the plate goes here. I was going to talk about the, the cheapness, the cheapness, the laziness of rhyming. Rhyming by just repeating the same word over and over again, which is what happens there in the theme song. That led to some speculation, I think, valid speculation about why it is that if you say course, stay the course. That was a presidential phrase, stay the course. And that kind of makes sense because, the course is the pathway you're following. So if you stay the course, you're just, continuing to follow the same pathway that you were intending to follow. Does it take on that other meaning when you put of in front of it? Because if you say of course, you could say of the course. See, that's different too. If you would say, this is a map of the course. It'd be pretty clear what you're talking about is this is a map of the path that you would follow. It's of the course. But if you'd say this is a map of course, you were simply saying this is certainly a map. There's something odd going on there when you add of in front of course without a the. You changed course. Pretty clear, of course, that one is off course and off of course. See, if you say off of course, then you mean you're certainly off. But if you say off of the course, then that just means that you're not following the intended path. So what's happening here? Is it even the same word then? With of course or of the course? Is it just, are they different words that just happen to be spelled in they actually different words that have different meanings depending on whether it's a the or of. And as I said, you say of the course, it's just what word is immediately preceding course. How is that changing the meaning of it? Thank you, Mr. Ed Theme, for raising this whole interesting. Well, I don't know if it's interesting. I won't say that. I'll back off on that claim. I'll no longer say this is an interesting conversation monologue. That I won't claim, but it is something to mutter on about while I'm painting rivets. Is this on? No, I actually on camera. Huh? Every once in a while, I have to look up and see if I'm on camera or not, because when I'm paying attention to what I'm painting, I don't always pay attention to its location relative to the camera. The paint is gummed up on the brush here, and it's just piling up and not coming off nicely. Those were, yeah, that's kind of nice. Like I said, it's kind of nicely subtle. It's not glaringly out, but that's a little bit of interest to it. I think that if I did these, it just wouldn't look good. It's the shiny green, overlay of the armor. There. Just do those. Better look good because that's going to be really hard to fix if it doesn't look good. Spot under there that never got painted anything. In the shadows, it's just going to stay a shadow. Yeah, down on the boots. Well, there. So that's the question, is what happens to the word course, which by itself means the desired pathway, and with a the in front of it, maintains that meaning. It's the course. But when an of is put in front of it, not of the course, but just of course, it suddenly stops being the pathway and just suddenly means with certainty. And what's up with that? How does that happen? But the theme song suddenly, it switches. Da-da-da-dun, da-dun, da-dun, to a kind of a different pattern. And it disses humans. People yakety yak away and waste your time of day. Which, basically is the TV showing that, saying that people they just say words just to say them, which becomes clear in the next line, which is that Mr. Ed will never talk unless he has something to say. Now that's an interesting turn of phrase as well, because if one takes that literally, nobody ever talks unless they have something to say because they're saying something. Okay, so if you have nothing to say, you can't say it, and if you don't say this thing you have nothing to say, then you're not talking at all. But if you're saying something, if you're talking, then you're saying something. So you do have something to say. It might not be meaningful or helpful or interesting or anything, not like, it could be just like this, I'm talking, which means I have something to say, but that doesn't mean that it's like worth the air movement and the vibrations in the air that are happening as I'm saying these things. But the intent, I think, in that particular lyric is it was like jazz. It's the words not said. Okay. So Mr. Ed will never talk unless he has something meaningful in the broadest sense of the word meaningful, useful, helpful, important. Okay, it's the word not said. It's the word not said that is of importance there. So Mr. Ed will never talk unless he has something, the word unsaid, said. Hi, Gift of Gabby. I'm doing well today. I am monologuing about the Mr. Ed theme. It's leading to all sorts of speculation about the meaning of words, which is, I don't know, pointless really, but it fills the air because there isn't any background music. Thanks for dropping in. I appreciate it. And just so you know, I will repeat that I am going to be here Wednesday again, but then I'm going to be away Friday and next Monday, and then back again on Wednesday. So I am streaming today, as you can tell by, being here listening and watching me stream, or at least listening to me stream. And I'll be doing this again on Wednesday. I'll be not doing exactly the same thing I'm doing now. That would be virtually impossible, actually, to just, to do what I'm doing now, because I'm doing it now and then time will pass and I can't repeat the past. But I'll be doing some sort of painting stream on Wednesday, and then I'll be gone Friday and next Monday. So I don't know. That's a linguistic challenge to figure out, identify why course takes on a totally different meaning, apparently, when preceded immediately by the word of. Right? And that's the only thing that changes the meaning that I know of course, from the intended pathway to being certain. But that's what happens when you put of in front of course. I'm not sure I want to mess around with the armor any more than I already have. Take a sip of coffee and take a look at it. Yeah, and I don't think I want to mess with any more rivets. Nicole suggested that I put this dark on, the painted bits on the armor, and that does okay. The cloak came out looking all right. The face is not bad. I need to put little pupils on. Why don't I do that before I get too incoherent? Could mess up the whole face, just like that. I'm attempting to do, you can see them, I've got the whites of the eyes there. So I'm attempting to put little black dots, pupils, okay? It's not, I can't do any better than that. That's just the way it is. Okay. So the rest of what I need to do today, I don't need to do anything today. I could just say I'm done with it. What did I do? There. I messed up my chat screen by just touching something. I really need to put decals on this. I don't want to wait until the end of the stream. I'm going to bring the car back. What I'm going to try to do is get the decals. See how the 82 sort of dominates in here. The big 82 goes here, like right there. I'm going to try to put the 82 on. Get the decals out and get some really sharp scissors. Find the decals. I've actually got two 82s to work with here. This is the decal that came originally with the kit, and I could just cut the 82 out if I need to. But in here is an aftermarket set of decals that got things right. Okay. And what I mean by that is that the sponsorship decals on the side are correct. And I don't know if you can see it, but right here in the nose of the car, there's an SO and a Lotus symbol. Okay. On here, the very nose of the car is Lotus powered by Ford, which is the 1964 car, not the 1965 one. This is the 1965 one. And then there's the Lotus logo that goes here. The original car is just on a yellow background. This one is on white. And I'm going to have to decide how I'm going to deal with that. But what I need to do in order to get anywhere at all. Oh, the other thing you can see, this is a typical decal set. If you can see it, you can see how you can see the edges of the decals. They reflect differently. Okay. And they extend a little bit beyond the painted part. Here, I think this whole sheet is a decal. So there aren't any edges. Take the 82 off of here. Very, very carefully trim around it. Extremely carefully trim around it. So that hardly any decal, unpainted decal material shows. And then I'm going to try to put it on right here. Keep this in front of me because it needs to rotate just slightly. See, like that? It's not straight, it's rotated. Probably, I'm going to put these back on to do this. And then I need to put this out of the way somewhere, like back where it should be. In the folder it was in, here it is, because there's there's just too much opportunity to mess it up. I don't want to mess it up. This isn't any good. So there's the, of course, and talking about of course versus the course, and what's up with that. And then there's never talks unless he has something to say, which is kind of a meaningless phrase if taken literally, because no one talks because what they're saying is something that they have to say. I think the intent was nothing meaningful to say. So I was just saying that at that point, the theme song is like a jazz riff kind of thing. It's the words not said that give it the meaning, the intended meaning. In 82, I don't think, I think I did that okay. Now I need to get this off of the paper. They suggest using a wet paper towel or a sponge for this. I've never done it that way. This needs to soak on water and then slide off. I'll try that. Rather than sticking this in the water, I'm going to get this all wet. Let that just sit on there and soak. And this needs to be wet so that the decal can slide on it. I'm going to need these Q-tips. looks actually looks pretty good. Not sure if it needs. I think the location is good. Dirty one. The next one is the little Lotus logo. Really tiny. So now that makes it look like a race car now. That's not bad. That's not bad. The decal is old, okay, and some of the black paint on the 82 came off. It's really tiny. It's a tiny flaw, but it's not too terrible. So this logo, the decal, is printed on a white circle. You can see it in the real car. There's it's clear, like this whole thing was printed on a clear thing, a clear disc, and then attached. So it's not white behind it. But I don't think. I think I'm going to leave it on. Just have to leave it on the white circle. And that's just the way it is. Trim the white circle. Really symmetric. Yeah, this is a little bit challenging here because it's so teeny. Do this. I have to do this over the tray, so otherwise I can't. I think that will work. I'm going to try the soaked towel thing here. I'm just holding it on my fingertip. I don't know how else there. I'm not sure how else I can possibly do this. Okay, that's going to look pretty good if I can get it I need to rotate it a little bit. Yeah, I think that's. I'm just trying to compare the location. I mean, it's not the same, but it's pretty close. I think the nose. See, the problem here, why this looks so much different than that, is that this is the 1964 nose. Okay, you can see how it comes in and this stays straighter. So this model for the most part was the 1964 car. Okay, it really was. And then they just redid a couple little bits of it or added some parts to make it look like the 65 car. But the nose is never going to look like that because it's not, because it's flared in. It's, instead of straighter. So it's just, so there it is. It's going to be that way forever. Wrong. But at least the new decal set doesn't have Lotus powered by Ford on the front of it. And I think that, that doesn't look exactly like that, but it looks a lot more like it should than it doesn't. And it looks like it should be further back, but again, it's the way the nose is made. I don't want to push it up any closer to the 82. I'm going to leave it where it is. Yeah, I'm just going to leave it where it is. So the other things that go on the nose are these little SOs, these advertising things that go right on each side. And again, it's not going to look like this because this nose is quite a bit broader. I'd say it's, if you look at it, it's like 25% fatter in the front. It's much straighter instead of tapering like that. But there's nothing that can be done because the model's wrong. But there's that. How am I doing on time? I can't even see anymore. Is it really 11? I put my other glasses on. Well, let me clean up. I need to clean up first here. I've got a mess of stuff. I made a mess of things here. And I'm going to, I'm just going to toss this. I'll be right back. Okay, well, getting the 82 on and the Lotus symbol, that's just actually a really big deal getting that done in terms of finishing his model. It really is. It now looks a lot more like the car should look. And again, as I said, it will never look right because the model itself is incorrect. Okay. But I was able to do some important modifications to it, like the seat, for example. That was a lot of work, but I actually made it look like the real seat is supposed to look. Get them. Because they messed around with the model and they put 1964 seat in it, but a 1965 molding in the back of the piece. So that came along. Let me see see if I'm feeling brave enough to do these little ad things on the nose. Because it's only 11:30. These bits here, they're really tiny. Keep saying ESO, they're not. They're ENCO. I'm not even sure what ENCO was. The big decals, these giant decals, need to come off and go on the sides of the car, but that'll be like a Monday thing. not a Monday thing. And next, it'll be a different day thing, not today. But I'm going to try to get these encos. Why not? I haven't messed up anything horribly yet so far today. If I got the Lotus logo on, I should be able to get these on. They go way up on the front of the nose. They go right here, right just slightly above the side there. The trick there is going to be to get them symmetric. So I'm going to put one on. Well, yeah, put one at a time, right? Of course, it'll be one at a time. And I put one of them on and try to get it located, and then really spend a lot of time messing around, attempting to get the other one right. Now, the real car, there's the blue line. You can see the blue oval around the Enco. It should have a white, it's supposed to have a white stripe around the outside of it. So you can see the blue, but it doesn't. So I'm going to leave some decal paint on it, decal material, like the reflectivity that isn't supposed to be there will be there. I was trying to do this with my head magnifiers on, and I couldn't get it. I couldn't get it focused right. The way I did this last time, just kind of weird, but it worked. Is I just kept it on my fingertip and kept it wet. I also need to get a drop of water where it's going to go. No, that didn't work. That'll be a challenge. No. Eventually, it comes loose from the paper underneath it, and then it starts sliding around, and then I could lose it all. Lotus one was really, I mean, this tech theoretically should be a lot easier than the Lotus. It's like more than twice the size. You know, if I dip it in the water, it'll come right off and then potentially come off in the water and start floating around, and then that would be horrible. That would be a real problem. So I'm just going to be patient. There we go. Really looks pretty close, doesn't it? Maybe forward just a little bit. Yeah, like I said, the trick is going to be to get the other one. You get the other one symmetric. I wonder where the other one is. There's where I left it. What I'm going to do after I get this on, assuming I have, some success at getting it on and it being symmetric from one side to the other. I'm going to set this aside and not push my luck any further than I need to after that. And then on Wednesday, I need to put the big decals on the sides. And once that's done, then there's the windshield. That's pretty straightforward. The roll bar, that's pretty straightforward. And those suspension parts, which are not straightforward. And then at some point, I need to actually put the wheels on. Turn this way. These decals are weird. They'll all of it. It's avalanchy. They hold on to the paper and then all of a sudden they don't. It's not a gentle thing. It's either they're on or they're off. Should have done this side first. Why, you might ask? Well, because I'm right-handed. It looks A gauge. Try and measure the distance between. Just gonna have to say that that's really darn close. It was until I touched it. Okay. To get it like horizontally correct, but yeah, I think that's as good as I can get it. So the nose of this now looks like it should. Okay. If you look at this and you look at that, other than the unfortunate fact that the nose of the car model, the nose of the model is a 1964 nose. I mean, other than the fact that the 64 nose and not the 65 nose, because the 65 nose is a lot broader. Okay. It would be 10, 15% on either side. It would be straighter. Okay. It would just be different. I mean, other than the fact that the model itself is incorrect and that the paint is just not quite perfect, but I can't do any better. Okay. And that the Lotus decal is not the same as the logo on the model. This now looks like it should. Okay. This, especially that since the seat The seat's been corrected. Okay. It's maybe so the seat's been corrected to look like it should. Okay. The logo is correct. It doesn't say Lotus powered by Ford. The encode little decals are there the way they should be, not like they are on the other car, on the 64 car. So this, other than the things that just can't be fixed unless it was like puttied in on aftermarket, is now pretty close to the way it should be, and including the exhaust being painted yellow as opposed to being chromed. So what needs to be done with this now is I need to get the side decals on. That will be the next thing to do. I might put the windshield on before I put the side decals on, just because I'm going to have to be holding the model from the sides. Okay, I'm going to have to just be holding it that way. I'm going to put the wheels on at the very end. I made that decision. So I'm going to, on Wednesday, I'm going to put the windshield on. That will make it look actually pretty nice. The windshield itself is made up of two parts. The kit comes with both parts. They got that right. I think I'll just do that. I'm not sure that I'm going to put the roll bar on, though. I might not do that. It's tempting to put it on, but it kind of sticks up. I'll test fit it and see. But on Wednesday, I'm going to take the tape off. Actually, I should just do that now. I'm going to take the tape off now so you can see what that looks like without the tape. On Wednesday, I'm going to put the windshield on. Tape has to come off to do that. And see how that goes. Probably just let that sit, and then I'll see about the side decals after that. But hopefully, I'm going to take the tape off now for two reasons. One is there's some chance that it'll peel paint away, in which case this whole model is totally screwed. But it'll just look better without the tape on it. And then I can talk about what I'll be doing next. Actually, one thing I could do next, I wasn't planning on this, but maybe I will. I keep talking about these sponsor decals. I'm just going to show them to you. And then I'm going to clean up again. I just got messy stuff. I don't want this mess in the way. But I'm pleased with how the nose of the car came out. The paint is a little bit ragged there. It just had to do with the way the taping worked. There's nothing I can do about that, really. I could have tried to repaint the yellow, but I didn't. I don't have what I needed to do that, so it'll just have to look that way. So these decals, this whole set, this whole big thing goes here on the side of the car. because that's the sponsors. Okay. I mean, they just are. They're the sponsors. And it just wraps around the whole side of the car here. But it goes underneath the windshield. You can see how that goes, right? The windshield needs to go on, and then this Enco Tiger. They almost got it right. It's pretty funny. So either the car is wrong or the decal's wrong. But it's got Premiere, it's got the Auto Light, it's got this one, it's got the blue one, it's got that one, it's got the Enco Tiger, but the Enco is on it's on the wrong side of the Tiger. But you can see this thing covers the whole bit here. So on Wednesday, I'm going to put this part on, the clear part, and then pull these out and then attach them to the side. And once those are on the side, then I can put the side view mirrors on and the roll bar in the back, and then the wheels. You can see the difference here. It's a huge difference in the sponsorship decals. This is the 64 car. Here's the Enco thing again, but you can see the big difference in them. And the decals that came with this are for the 64 car. These are the 65 cars. So there. Put these in the box with the windshields, and I'm going to clean up here and move this out of the way. What I'm going to be doing next is not working on this. Next is going back to working on, goodbye, Lotus-Ford. Get this guy back out. Oh. Okay, so as far as the Lotus-Ford goes, on Wednesday, I'm going to put the windshields on, let those dry, because I don't want to knock them off as I'm putting on the decal. Then I'll put the decals on the sides of the car. And there we go. Thank you, camera director, for pointing that out. Putting those on the sides of the car, and then I can attach the side view mirrors and the last bits of the suspension, probably. I need to toss some junk. I'll be right back. I'm just trying to get it a little bit cleaner here. Yeah, I'm going to paint the base. And the way I'm going to paint the base is I'm going to do it the same way. I'm going to use the same color combination as for our dungeon tiles. I'm going to use the flat earth and then use the smoky ink to give it a look. It'll look kind of like this. But first, I am going to take a quick break. I'll let you just look at this guy. So I'll be painting the base when I get back. Look at this guy, and I'll be back. It's got such spooky eyes now. I don't know what to do about that. I'll be back in about like 3 minutes. Hi. Did you see the car? I wasn't looking up. Marvelite cosplay. I wasn't paying attention to this chat. I was so busy putting decals on. I've got the nose of it done. I got the decals, the 82, the Lotus thing, the Encos, and it's getting really, as you can see, it's almost like it's a car, right? So on Wednesday, I'm going to put the windshield on and hopefully get the sponsorship decals on the sides. And once those are done, I can get the roll bar, the velocity stack covers, and then finally the wheels. So this, I'm probably not going to finish it Wednesday because I need to let the windshield finish. I mean, set. I don't want to break it off when I'm messing with the decals. These are just horrible. These are a real mess. I'm really glad that they're going to get covered up. There's just even falling out. Okay. Ignore this part. This is going to get covered up. You won't ever see this again. But that, getting the decals on the nose really felt, it felt good to do that. It told me I could do that. So there's a chance that that'll be finished. And I'm going to then paint the base of this, and then this will be done soon. This is Ulseth Ralph. This is a large size version of my character on our Dungeons and Dragons show, which I'll talk about after I get back from this real quick break. Need to find the right paint. There it is. And, this brush should work. Gives us a good stirring up. Thanks for the first time chat, Marvelite. I really appreciate you dropping in. I'm sorry that I wasn't paying attention to the chat screen because I was so focused on those little decals on the little nose of the little car. So on Wednesday, I'm going to put the windshield on the car. I'm going to do that early on in the stream because I don't know how long it takes. I'm using this world's best canopy cement, clear part cement and window maker. I've used this before. It actually works pretty well in that it doesn't, unlike a lot of cements, it doesn't dissolve the clear plastic, and so it doesn't fog it. It actually dries clear. You can actually use it to make windows. You can put a thin layer of it on something like a wax paper or aluminum foil or something, and it'll dry clear. I'm going to use that, but I don't remember. It's been a long time since I used it. I don't remember how long it takes for it to set up, you know. So I'm going to put the windshield on early in the stream, and if it's holding okay, then I'll put the sponsorship decals on. If it's not, then it's just going to have to wait. This paint is really bland. Okay, when it first goes on, it is officially blah. But then when it's washed with the smoky ink wash, it really looks amazing. I'm using this brush, and I have to get it down into all these crevices. This is the wood grain base is very deep. So this is my character on our Dungeons and Dragons show, because Dyson Dungeons is first and foremost about our Dungeons and Dragons show, which streams with a live chat on most Sundays, 3 Sundays a month. But all of the old episodes are on YouTube, and you can listen to them as a podcast as well, which is pretty cool. And I play Ulseth Relf, a Furbog fighter. As you can see, I have a flaming longsword and an ice enchanted offhand. The melee character in our group. The other players are a changeling druid, Soya Ansul, and a Tabaxi bard, Nines. They tend to stay away from. They tend to stay away from getting hit as much as possible, because, you know, I've got heavier armor and more hit points, health points, hit points, whatever HPs. I've got more HPs. So as a result, I've been mostly dead a couple of times. That happens. But this is not a minifig. I have the one in the show that shows up in combat and things like that, you know, and acts on the dungeon tiles that we create. That one is 1/4 of this size, but this is a large version that was given to me as a gift. I haven't been working on it very much until recently, but I've been able to work on it in between. Well, while stuff was drying, or I was avoiding things on the car, because the 65 Lotus-Ford model had gotten to the point where, you know, there were just things needed to just set for a few days, and there wasn't much that could be done in any one particular stream. So I was able to get to this and actually pretty much finish it just recently. I don't know if I'm probably missing some spots. Putting the paint on pretty heavily because I want to get it in here. When I put the wash on, I'm going to put the wash on really quite heavily because I wanted to get down into all these wood grain crevices here that are so, I have to be careful taking the brush away from the paint surface. It's one of the times when I make the biggest mistakes is when I'm leaving the work surface, I bump it into the model, and then all of a sudden, its armor or its cloak has this big brown spot on it, which, is not what I'm intending to do. So this base is going to look, like I said, really bland until I get the wash on it. Yeah, this isn't going to dry enough to be able to wash it yet today, so the wash will go on it Wednesday. But as I was saying, and I keep distracting myself from what I was saying, this is my character on the Dungeons and Dragons show. And the Dungeons and Dragons show is truly amazing, and everybody needs to watch it. So catch it on YouTube, take a look at some of the previous episodes. I think you'll be really entertained. I mean, we really are putting on a show, not just, we're not just recording a basement game, although the studio is in the basement. I have to be honest about that. It's a show. And we play our characters that way for an audience. Our DM, Alexis, is an amazing voice actress, and she really is amazing. She does NPCs and brings the show alive that way a lot. Sometimes the voices are, well, let's just say that it's like, oh, really? That's how that character sounds? Oh my God. So there's that. But yeah, watch our D&D show, because that's what this is about. Like, whenever I talk about it, I have to say that this stream is, just a spin-off of that, because we make our own dungeon tiles in our own minifigs and then paint them and then put them up on the show. And our DM thought that it would be an interesting thing. I don't know that it's terribly interesting that people, since I'm painting anyway, the way she put it is, well, you're just painting anyway, so I'm going to put up a camera and a microphone, and we're going to stream what you're doing anyway, because you're not doing anything you wouldn't be doing otherwise, other than talking to myself, which I wouldn't be doing if this weren't being streamed. I know. No, seriously, I wouldn't be talking to myself like this if there wasn't a stream going on. Please believe that. So that's how this got started, since I'm painting these things anyway for the show. Well, we'll just go ahead and stream that. And then I didn't have any minifigs or anything to do, so I started building some of these models I bought when I was retired. And the Lotus-Ford was one of those. The Lotus-Ford is one I built, the original, when it first came out in the mid to late 60s, because that car is the car that won the 65 Indianapolis 500. So I would have built it probably in 66 or 67. Not the kit that I'm building now, but the original one. The one that I'm building now is actually a repro that was put out in the 70s, so it in itself is a vintage kit that I found out was worth $50 in the condition it was in. And so instead of getting my $50 back by reselling it on eBay, I built it, or I'm close to being done building it anyway, to be more specific and honest about it. So this stream started just as a, and continues as a fill-in. I can talk about our Dungeons and Dragons show and stay out of everybody's hair 3 mornings a week while I'm doing this instead of being, in the way somewhere else. This is going to be pretty much done. The car is going to be pretty much done. And so what will happen next? Well, I'm going to try to make sure I've got it mostly painted as much as I can see with my tired old eyes and the light that it exists was under here. I think I'm missing some spots behind the cape there, but I can't get there from here. Okay. So like I said, the base is starting to dry, so you can see what the paint looks like, and it's really pretty dull and bland. But I'll show you what it will look like after I wash it, after I go around and make sure I haven't missed too many spots. It looks more finished anyway than it did before I painted it brown. I've been having trouble getting the paint out of these brushes lately. A little isopropyl alcohol. It does a little better job of clearing the paint. Every once in a while, I need to deep clean these things with lacquer thinner, especially get the paint out from the base of the bristles here. You can see where it has built up, which usually isn't too much of a problem, but sometimes it dissolves itself into the color I'm using, and if it's dark paint built up at the base of the bristles, then it'll bleed in, and I've had that happen, and that's been a sadness when that has occurred. Okay. Well, the things that need to be done are, to wash this base. I'll do that on Wednesday. Finish the car, the 65 Lotus-Ford. And I'll be putting the windshield on early on the stream, and then depending on how quickly the adhesive sets up, I don't know how quickly that's going to go. Depending on how quickly that goes, I may be able to do a little bit more work on it. It's getting really close to being done. So these are samples of our dungeon tiles, and you can see this is what it looks like after the wash is put on. It's darkish brown. It's got a little red in it. It shows the wood grain really well, brings it to life. These tiles are pretty cool because they have magnets in them. Seeing they do that, they stick to each other. They come apart and rearrange. Alexis has done a lot of work designing these so that they work like this, and has improved the quality tremendously, which I would show to you, but I'm not going to. Maybe I will. Dungeon tile demonstration. Yay. moving some things so I can make some space here without knocking too much stuff over. Got all sorts of things to show off. So these things come, like you can see some of these are, thank you, camera person. These are stone tile as opposed to wood. Here's an unfinished one. This is what they look like when they come off of the PLA printer. This is what they look like when they're painted. They're primed, base coated, detailed, and washed. Okay, so that's all good. There's lots of features of these. The biggest features of this show here are that the wall and the floor are one solid piece. Can't break them. Well, you can, I suppose, if you really wanted to, you could break it. But I'm not going to demonstrate how. Well, I'm not even sure I could. But they're very solid. Nice 90-degree angles, that kind of thing. And then underneath here are ball magnets in the corners. There are 8 altogether, 2 in each corner. And the ball magnets rotate so that they stick to each other. And, you know, this is just on a piece of cardboard, so you don't need a special surface. They stick to each other. They come apart really easily so that you can rearrange them in all sorts of different ways. They have doors that work. There's outside corners, inside corners, these windows. There's square windows and arched windows. The latest thing is that we got some new printers here. And so the innovations are pretty, you can really see the innovations on these sets of tiles here, is that, first of all, the base plate is gone, okay? On these older ones, this was done, and then the ball magnets were put in and the base plate was attached, which was not a real arduous job, but, you know, it's a potential point of failure. So these new ones, the printer prints for a while, and then says, time to put the magnets in. You put the magnets in, and then it finishes printing. And so it's all sealed. As you can see, there's no seam here. No seam. It's seamless. Okay. The other amazing innovation is this arch was a difficult thing to do because a PLA printer, you know, they're just spreading little lines of threads of plastic, right? Is that, as you can see in this old one here, okay, underneath here, you can see where the threads had, you know, they dangled down, and we could, you know, file this off a little bit, but she's been able to make them now so that there's no dangly bits, okay, on the new printer, so that this new version of the tile is a huge improvement in many ways in terms of quality, just the visual quality of the thing, because there's no separate plate for the base, and any little dangly bits over the top like that are gone. And that the same is true of the doorway. 2 huge improvements were made. One is, if you look at a really old door like this, you can see it's pin hinged, right? And the pin goes through the top and then has to be sealed in. So massive improvement number 1 was to get rid of the pin, the hole, by printing it up, putting the pin in and finishing a layer right over the top to smooth it out. And the other was just like on the round windows, as you could see here. You can kind of see, you know, there's little dangly bits of threads there because the PLA printer is trying to stretch across a wide opening like that. But the new ones are perfect, just absolutely beautiful. So the most recent version of the doors there's just no seams anywhere. It's seamless on the top. There's no holes for the pin hinges. There's no little dangly bits. And then these can be primed and painted, you know, just like anything else, like these, like the door handles and hinge straps and stuff here. This is supposed to be like an iron-bound door, so this would probably be painted a metallic color. And the interior panels would either be painted a contrasting or complementary metallic color, or maybe they would be like wood panels with metal strapping. But I wanted to show these off because she's done an amazing job. And like I said, there's inside corners and outside corners and rounded corners and square windows. There's all sorts of different things. There's even cauldrons. Okay, this is printed right on. And then you can put a flame in there. Okay, or a gas cloud or a water fountain, depending on what elemental group your wizard is in. And this one, just like all the rest, attaches. So that's the story of the dungeon tiles and how this stream started, because painting them like this, okay, it was a multi-step process of priming them, then base coating, then washing, and then detailing. And that's how this stream got started, by doing all of that on camera. And then there weren't any dungeon tiles to do anymore. And so I started building models, and I've built quite a number of them so far. I got a big Big Daddy Roth Fink Eliminator. I got a Renwall submarine, cutaway submarine done. I got an Apollo. I got a Savoia S21. I should show that off sometime. The Savoia S21 from Porco Rosso. That model came out really well. I'm doing the Lotus-Ford. I need to finish the Apollo command module, which I'll do one of these days. It basically has to do the same thing as like with the decals. I made stickers, printed stickers for the control panels, so that they looked a little bit more realistic than they do on the model kit itself. And I just need to cut those out and stick them on, and then finish the command module. And maybe I will do that next week, depending on how the car comes along. Yeah. So to finish things up, this will get finished once that's washed. The car will get finished once I get the windshield and the decals and a couple of little bits, little bitty bits that need to be attached. Fiddly attachments, they won't be trivial, but it'll be done. And then I'll be able to put that in a box and stick it in the shelf somewhere. And the next thing I'm going to build after I get the Apollo done, which is also stuck in a box somewhere, is a fun thing. This is kind of a silly model. This is the original USS Enterprise command bridge. And this comes, all of these things, all of these panels, those are stickers. Yeah, it's that kind of model. But I'm going to try to make it look, okay by doing some stuff with the paint, And then I think it comes with these 3 minifigs. I think there's Sulu, Kirk, and Spock, and so I'll get to paint them. I checked to see if this was valuable. Like I said, the Lotus-Ford, when I took the cellophane off the box, I destroyed $50 worth of value. But I wanted to build it anyway, kind of out of nostalgia, to see if I could do better than I did when I was a teenager. And I think it's better than I did then. Pretty sure it's better than I did then. This has no value. It's a little bit more than what I paid for it. I think I paid like $15 for it. And there's like 40 of them on eBay. Apparently everybody thought it would be valuable and they held on to them, and now they're trying to sell them. So, yeah. I'm not sure when, either Wednesday or maybe the week after, I'll open this up and we'll take a look at it. It's pretty much just relatively poorly molded white plastic. There's a lot of parts and they all fit together, and it'll look weird when it's done, but I mean, the cover art alone. Yeah, so there. I need to find. No, I'll do that on. Wednesday. I don't need to wander off camera now. I mean, I could wander off camera and find the parts that for the command module and show them to you. But just do that. Let's see if I can find them here. Coming attractions. So I almost had this done, and then I said the control panel in the kit doesn't look good at all. This is what the control panel really looked like on the Apollo. And that's what it looked like. And this is how the model came out. I mean, if you can see, there's really some very light embossing on the model. And just if I rotate it, you can kind of see some really light embossing that has almost no relationship at all to the way the control panel actually looks. Just practically none. This is actually pretty nicely detailed. This is the base of the command module. Okay, all sorts of conduits and things underneath it. These seats sit on there. The little astronauts sit in the seats. Okay. And then this is the top of the command module. There's a toothpick in there to hold the door open. Because if it closes, I can't get it opening. But you can see these are like the parachute shrouds and things like that. No, oh yeah, this is supposed to be that. Okay, and then like I said, there's all sorts of little embossing on here that's supposed to look like this, but it doesn't. And I could try to paint what's already embossed on there, but that would be virtually impossible. So what I've done is I got some pictures, shrank them down, and printed them out. Okay, like this. And so those get cut out and applied to that. And if they're applied to this and the sides and the base, it will look a lot more. It will look a lot more like it's supposed to look once this is on than it does like that. And then once I get those stickers put on these parts, okay, this part and the side panels, these are the side panels, and that, then I can assemble this bit, put the top of it on, and once that's done, then this will be done. Why is there tape on there? I did some touch up on there. Left the tape on. Don't need that there anymore. This goes on top of that. This goes on top of that. And the escape tower goes on top of the whole thing. This is the walking on the moon version of the astronaut. I think that came out okay. I even got moon dust all over its pants. I think that came out okay. These were not historically accurately molded. Okay, the connections on the fronts of the suits, okay, are not exactly as they were for the real astronauts. But close enough, I guess. And when I'm got these parts that need to be stickered somewhere where I've actually got the stickers. These are just practice ones. The instructions. Yeah, these are the instructions for putting together. There, putting together the bits of the control panels. Those are supposed to go on, and then the seats are supposed to go on, and then this is supposed to go on. I've test fit these parts before. They don't fit. It's going to be kind of a challenge getting them all to be put together when it comes time to do that. But then they stack like this. This part's pretty much done already. But I've got everything except I don't have the stickers. What did I put? Yeah, well, since I'm muddling around here, I'm being muddling and muddly. Here they are. These are the actual stickers. I think they came out pretty well. I've got 3 different sizes, so I have to test to see. And I printed out lots of extras, as you can see, in case I screw up when I cut them off or when I peel them off, they rip or something. This is the original size, and then I made a little bigger and a little smaller. I want to see which one fits best. And which one fits best is something I'll do probably on Wednesday. Well, instead of using the stickers, though, that would be dumb, really, to waste the stickers, right? When I've got this is the test sheet of the 3 different sizes. I'm going to use these and not the stickers. Duh. Here. I'm going to fold this up so that it's right there where I need it on Wednesday. I put the okay. I'm just misplacing things because that's what I was doing, is misplacing them. So on Wednesday, I probably will get back to the Apollo here just to test fit, do a final test fit of which size of these things are going to work. And once I decide which one will be, I'm going to see if I can't just get them stuck on here. Because as soon as I can get them stuck on the appropriate places on these panels, I can then assemble it and be done with the Apollo, which has been sitting over there undone for quite a while now. Just cleaning off some dirt, and as I'm doing that, I'm destroying the astronauts. There. Close the box. Put it aside. Oh, here's one of the test things. This is one of the very, very early test thing to show you how it works. It was just done in black and white. It goes right over like that. and covers it up pretty well. And it's not perfect, but it looks a lot more like an instrument panel than it did before this was put on. Mm-hmm. Yeah, as usual, when I get near the end of the stream, I just start fumbling around and start becoming incoherent. So it's time to stop. Time to stop messing around with this. Time to close up some boxes here. To recap, on Wednesday, I'll be finishing this by washing the base so that it doesn't look so bland and it'll look all nice and woody. And then I'll put the windshields on the car. And while that is sitting around waiting to, cure, I'll probably go to the Apollo and see if I can't get those stickers on those control panels so that I can actually finish that, stick it back in the box because, the parts are all in boxes, but at least that model will be completed. Yeah, yay. So I'll be here on Wednesday, more or less 10 until more or less 1. I will be gone Friday and the next Monday and back again the Wednesday after. So I will be here Wednesday and then gone for 2 streams and then back a week from Wednesday. I'm going to get as much done as I can then on Wednesday so that my goal, my long-range goal is to get the Lotus-Ford completed before Labor Day. I really want to get it done by the end of August. So I will plug away at that. Hopefully it'll work out. And then I might even be able to finish the Apollo kind of in that same time frame. And then beginning in September, I'll begin to work on the original series Enterprise Bridge. I guess that's what it'll be. So look at this. This was an experiment that failed. I'm not even going to bother explaining it. It's a part that didn't come with the Lotus-Ford model, that should have been there, that wasn't there, that I tried to create out of a piece of cardboard. And I got the shape right, but it's supposed to be a screen, and I couldn't get it to look like a screen. I got the shape right, I got the frame right, but the screen interior just doesn't work. And I don't have any material that would suffice, that would work. So I'm not sure I can do anything about that. I'm going to spend the last bits of the stream here. I'm going to set this guy back down now so you can see it. And I'm going to try to get this brush a little cleaner than it is. The brush that I've used for for washing the cloak just is not letting loose the paint. It's staying green. And I'm the way I'm looking at this, I'm just going to have to. I might even have to use acetone or something. If the lacquer thinner doesn't take it all out. I mean, this is a decent brush. It holds the paint and does not clean up. Oh, good. There's brown and black paint all over the base of it. Yeah, I mean, this brush just needs to soak in some sort of solvent. Turpentine, maybe? I've got a can of turpentine. You don't get that much anymore. People don't use it as much as they used to. But this brush is, I mean, you just look at all the stuff that's coming off of it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a brush that needs a major soaking in some major solvent. All right. Well, while I'm doing this and failing at it, I can't even clean the brush here at the end. I want to thank everybody who joined in. Thanks for being a first-time chat, Marvelite. I want to encourage everybody to check in on our Dungeons and Dragons show. Please do that. It is an amazing thing. You can become a follower here. You can go to become a subscriber on YouTube. And you can also go to patreon.com/Dyson Dungeons and become a patron. And that would be appreciated a lot. On Wednesday, I'll be putting the windshield on the Lotus-Ford. If that goes okay and the cement, the canopy cement that I'm using sets up okay, I might get the sponsorship decals on and then be really close to finishing that. Be washing the base of this. That'll be a pretty straightforward thing to do. I might even use this brush because why not? It's all gucked up anyway. What it takes to get the green out of this? It's like the paint has permanently stained the bristles, sort of. Maybe between now and then I will just soak it in some sort of solvent. And I think, I'm gonna work on I have to get to the Apollo eventually. Get the stickers on the control panels and see if I can't get that finished up. So thanks, everybody. I will see you again on Wednesday at more or less 10 as I continue to plug along very slowly using my catchphrase. Got hardly anything done, but it took a long time to do it and managed to do that again today. Thanks again. See you then.